In this week's Wild World of Weather, we start off across the pond, where major flooding has led to mass evacuations in Italy. At least 36,000 people have been evacuated from the northern Italian region of Emilia-Romagna. Video shows mud left behind after mudslides caused by the torrential rain. The region's civil protection agency says the deadly flooding has killed at least 14 people. Cinemas and museums are functioning as evacuation centers, as 16% of the region's territory has been evacuated. Severe weather led to a deadly roof collapse in Thailand this week. A thunderstorm moved through the region of northern Thailand, about 185 miles north of Bangkok, bringing strong winds. Now, these winds collapsed a metal roof onto a school. 6 people were killed in the collapse, including 4 children. The roof fell on the school's activity center where students had been seeking shelter from the rain. Officials say 18 people were hospitalized following the tragic incident. The Eastern Pacific tropical season has been well underway, and the latest storm is bringing major impacts to an American territory. The small island of Guam was in the path of Super Typhoon Mawar on Wednesday. High winds, heavy rains, and dangerous storm surge battered the island as the Category 4 storm moved through, with sustained winds reaching 155 miles per hour. Areas that were jungle are now being described as bare, with trees now resembling toothpicks. Flooding was caused by over 2 feet of rain, and luckily there have been no deaths reported. We hope it stays that way. Mawar continues to churn in the northern Pacific. The most active volcano in Europe erupted again on Sunday. Mount Etna spewed gray ash across the area as it came to life again. Ash was scattered onto the city of Catania, the largest city in eastern Sicily. The airport was forced to shut down, and at least one other town on Mount Etna's inhabited slopes was blanketed in ash. Back in our neck of the woods, Canadian wildfires have been bringing smoky conditions to the States. Fires continue to burn out of control in Alberta and are producing heavy smoke in the atmosphere. More than 10,000 people have been forced to evacuate, and there is extensive damage to homes and businesses in the region. Air quality alerts were in place across the U.S. this week as states like Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois, Wisconsin, Utah, Washington, and Colorado have all reported seeing smoke from the wildfires. And further south, flash flooding also led to water rescues in Idaho. Young children and a mother had to be saved by the Idaho Falls Fire Department after their apartment was impacted by the flooding. Excessive rain caused the waters to rise rapidly into the family's basement apartment. Footage at the scene depicts a firefighter carrying 2 small girls out of the window to safety. The fire department issued a warning to the community to avoid flooded areas. Lots happening, of course, around the world this week. We're just happy to hear that there were no deaths, at least now, involved with that Typhoon Mawar in Guam.
Remarkable. I mean, just a testament to early warning.